How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Fourever Arsenal podcast. Hope you're all good. Hope you're all well. Got a couple of the regulars back in the building, and we got the Fourever Arsenal lawyer back in the building as well. So we should have a nice, safe journey today on today's show. Lee, why are you shaking your head?
No, I'm happy. I'm happy.
Happy to see you, right?
Yeah, I'm happy as Larry, as I say.
Happy as Larry. Hey, Sheree, what are you saying, man? It's been a little while. You good?
Yeah, look, I can't complain, man. Football's got magic powers. Yesterday was one of those. Everyone's got those days at work, right, where things aren't going your way. The weather was terrible. Made the mistake of turning on the news after I logged off, down in the dumps. Yeah. By half time, I'm beaming the way that I am now after that Arsenal performance. There is just something magic about football, man. I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, we're going to get into it. James, good as always?
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Very happy. Arsenal were great. Excited to talk about it.
Nah, we're going to get into it. Jordan pulled out, people, last minute. I think we're considering docking him a point. We can get into that later on in the show.
But apparently a groin strain Turkish, that's what I've heard. Like, you know,
groin strain, yeah?
Yeah. Griselda strain.
Too much Netflix, it can get like that. Yeah. It can get like that. But before we get started, people, Shiroi has got a channel now. This is the first time he's been on the Fourever Arsenal podcast, and his channel's actually active. It's called Shiroi's Voice. He started with a weekly podcast called the One Mic Podcast. I think, you know, it makes sense to go show him some love. Let's get him up to 10K subscribers ASAP. And he's got a podcast with James once a week, every week on James's channel, the Gooniverse, as well. So he's well in the community. So if you like to hear from Shiroi, the comments do tell me you like to hear from Shiroi. One person here doesn't. Go subscribe to Shiroi's Voice. And we can't forget Lee Judge's TV as well. He feels a bit left out here. So big up Dan Potts, who carries that channel on his back. No, I'm joking. Go support the channels, people. Go support the channels. Say that again?
It's true, though.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. There's truth in every joke.
Well, and Turkish LDN well on the road to 100K. Let's not forget the host, yeah?
Thank you. I wanted Lee to do that.
What's going on here? Like, the other five are not bad.
Go get yourself another tea, Lee, man. You're still grouchy in the morning, man. It doesn't suit you. Let's get into it, man. PSG 2-0 clean sheet, a very good win, a very comfy win, and a very big win against a big European side. PSG, you know, they're not the team that they used to be over the last few years, and I use the word team loosely because the argument is that they're a better team than ever now. But I mean, the star-studded lineups they've had over the years with the Mbappes, the Neymars, the Messis, Verrattis, and so on. They've gone down a new angle, and it was a good test. They dominated possession, but we come out with the win. Let's start with you, Lee. I was going to start with the returning Shiroi, but he was at the game as usual. I heard it was a bit flat. Not that I want to dwell on that too much, but talk to me. How was it? Champions League night at the Emirates, the first one of the season.
I don't know if it was flat. I think, like, for me, perfect night. I have to say, I thought, like, and you know what? It was one of those games where I don't know if I got into the game. I was really intrigued of the way we played and the way we was going to go about it and all that, like, you know. So, with the atmosphere-wise, I think a lot of Arsenal fans were just into the game, and you know. Let's face it, it wasn't going to beat PSG's fans, you know. I mean, whatever you did on that day, they was unbelievable, like, you know. But I just thought it was a perfect European performance. It's a performance that I've been waiting for since we've been in the Champions League. Just that sort of performance. I've looked back on it. That is what you've got to do against big sides. And I'm very, very disappointed. I coming home and talk about, PSG and not the side they were and whatever. Before the game, everybody's going, you've got to be careful of these. These are a new team. This PSG are a good side. Don't underestimate them. As soon as we wiped the floor of them, and I think we did wipe for that's the sort of performance, guys, that I want when we played Leicester. It's comfortable in possession, allowed them to have the ball at times. As soon as they went forward, our defence snuffed them out and made them look I wouldn't say a poor side, but we just showed our superiority all over the park. I thought it was a brilliant performance, and the way that we managed it, we was able to get players off at times. Thomas Partey, by the way, I thought was sensational in that first half. The way he breaks the lines and played, he was brilliant. Trossard has to be mentioned. I thought Trossard played really well for the goal. But come on, Kai Havertz, unbelievable performance again, absolutely superb. And I just thought it was a very good night all round. And dare I say it, as well as when they put a little bit on us, and I know that they did at times, I just felt so confident. Raya come out one time with an unbelievable catch. Didn't really have a great deal to do, guys, against the top European side. Come out and claim the catch. Everything about that performance was what you want. And I felt that we looked like a proper European team last night. I felt last season we was never really in the competition. Don't know how you guys feel about that, but yesterday I felt, wow, we looked like we'd grown up in Europe.
I think it's the tweaks. Well, I think it's this, dare I say, new, but it's not really new, but the extra emphasis on the defensive stability and structure. I think it suits European football more than the styles we've had in the past. But obviously still only 2 games in, but 2 clean sheets in Europe against 2 pretty good sides. I think it's a very good start. James, you're nodding.
Played well as well, Turkish. I think there was some good football out there, you know what I mean? If that Martinelli goal goes in, they'd be talking about that for many a year, because that was sensational. So I think that as good as we was defensively, there was it was enjoyable to watch as well. I'm not having this narrative that Arsenal were boring as well, and don't do this. We played some really good, intelligent football last night. It weren't gun-ho. It wasn't like desperation football. It was calculated, good performance, and I was entertained. I ain't gonna lie.
I likened him to Simeone in the post-match interview. Fan cam, sorry, calling it a post-match interview, but yeah, fan cam. Because Simeone was accused of being boring a lot with the Atletico side, but they wasn't boring. They were just sound defensively, and they'd pick their moments. And in those moments, they'd play some beautiful football. They had an attack that you could, rely on to win games 1-0, 2-0. Tough. That's all I mean by it. We're not boring, but we've got that kind of edge to us now where if we go 1 up, 2 up, I'm not worried. And that's what Simeone had built at Atletico. I don't know if that comparison is way out there, but because a lot of people have woken up to messages about, calm down. Hold on. Isn't our manager called Mini Pep and being compared to the best manager around right now? I'm just saying his tactics remind me a bit of Simeone, who's not up there with a Pep, but is a very different manager to Pep. And I like it. I really do like it.
Well, even Marino, when he had a title-winning team and he had sort of Fabregas next to Matic with Oscar in the 10, like that was not a boring team to watch. Mm-hmm. Sure, with 10 games to go, they probably tightened it up and picked up a few 1-0s, but they were never boring. You can't be a very good side and not score goals. So you got to have a way to do that. To score goals, you've got to be somewhat entertaining. So, yeah, I mean, you compare him to probably a few managers in terms of styles. The reality is that Arteta has tried to pick up so many, like he's had a real footballing education. He's kind of been a coach under Pep Guardiola, played at PSG, played under David Moyes, he's played under Arsene Wenger. We make all these comparisons, a bit like when we were talking about Trossard the other day and we threw 3, 4, 5 different players out. But, that first half, there's a bit of Wenger ball in there. The 1-2s, the combinations, the triangles. I mean, what stood out to me that first half was the fluidity. I mean, you just don't know if the centre-back's going to split with Declan Rice dropping in between or Partey's going to drop in between. At times, Calafiori was out in Ødegaard's position. And, Timber was inverting, but then he was overlapping. They do everything. This team have got to a almost stage of like total football where they just completely understand ultimately how the team in their head is meant to look on the pitch. And so when one cog moves, they understand how that's going to affect every other cog and how every other player is going to move on the pitch to react to it. It means that we're unpredictable. It means that we can be really entertaining to watch. And again, I thought we were great in this game. I think that Leicester performance for me, I said that we could have almost considered ourselves a little unlucky to have been 2-0 up and gone back to 2-2 because, some of their goals felt like, a bit of freak moments. that freak moment didn't really happen for PSG. I mean, Nuno Mendes had that sort of great shot that hit the post. And again, that's a moment we think, that was nearly another great strike that sort of, found the back of the net. But otherwise, we had them where we wanted them in the second half. We were just very calm with it. We were just pretty controlled. I think, again, they did hit the crossbar, but the two best chances for me fell to Martinelli again in that second half. So we were great. I'm glad you highlighted Kai Havertz because, this is now becoming the norm. His performances are becoming the norm. They're not becoming surprises anymore that he is performing to a really high level up front, away at Tottenham, away at Man City, and now against PSG. We keep talking about people doing it on the big stage and in big games. Kai Havertz, whether he's getting the goal or not, is always leaving the pitch with something. He's always leaving us with something in terms of either a commitment or a work rate, or at least goals now that we're seeing regularly at the Emirates. And Thomas Partey I thought was brilliant. I was critical of him against Leicester's second half. May I say, I said his first half was brilliant against Leicester, but fell off in the second half, and maybe a few lapses of concentration, I think, put us in a bit of trouble, but let's not dwell on that. I thought he was great in this game. Everything ran through him. And Declan Rice, I thought the first half, I was thinking, we're not seeing the best Declan Rice, but then he got better and better and better and better. And I think by the end of the game, Declan Rice was sort of getting nearer his best level. So, yeah, so many positives. And we just internalize, right, that we've made just beating PSG 2-0 the norm. I mean, since we've been a good side again, we haven't had a big European night. Knocked out by Sporting in the Europa. Porto was touch and go. We had a big night in terms of coming through it, but it wasn't a big performance. And then Bayern was a 2-2, and we felt like we should have done more in that game. So it's kind of the first time that in Europe we've sort of taken a European powerhouse and just made it really comfortable. Since we've been a good side under Mikel Arteta, it's the first time we've done that. And we're just acting like it's just normal because we're that good now.
Just to contextualize it, a lot of Arsenal fans are describing this as a statement win, right? And Saka describes it as a statement win after the match. I'm immediately met with WhatsApps from fans that support other clubs saying that's not quite a statement win because PSG aren't what they are. But you have to look at where this club was when Mikel Arteta joined to understand exactly why Arsenal fans perceive this as a statement win. We were languishing in 8th that season, the 19-20 season, finishing one place behind Wolves and one place above Sheffield. Meanwhile, PSG at the time, I think, had Mbappe, had Neymar, had Di Maria, had Cavani. They were Champions League finalists that year. So you're looking at Arteta's tenure. You're looking at a team that was Champions League finalists and a team that's knocking about an 8th. Now, maybe there was a bit of a PSG drop-off, but we must have had to raise our level up to here to overtake them and make it look that comfortable. And I was listening to you guys intently, a lot of the discussion about Arsenal's style of play. And I think one of the major sports outlets last night, the first thing they put out on YouTube afterwards was, is Mikel Arteta the new Marino? And I think a lot of the criticism that we receive for being so defensively sound falsely forces upon us this idea that it's all that we can do, that we are a one-dimensional team. Now, last night for me was a wonderful sort of microcosm as to why that was completely wrong. If you want to go route one, David Raya, straight to Martinelli. We almost have a goal. If you want that wonderful football that we were discussing, the Wenger ball / Harlem Globetrotter stuff at around 50, 51 minutes, we can do that. That was worthy of a finish. If you want another silky move, you can look at the minute before we score the first goal. Kai Havertz running along, getting the ball into the 6-yard box after a wonderful move. All it needed was Kai Havertz on the end of it to finish it, and no one was there. If you want to talk about the long balls in from out wide, we can do that too. That's how we get our first goal. We are a multifaceted team. And that game last night demonstrated that we can do it all. And I think that's what rubs Arsenal fans up the wrong way, when we only focus on what can be described as one of our primary strengths, as opposed to talking about the rest of them. And there was always a worry, right, that without our imperious captain Martin Odegaard, that we wouldn't necessarily be able to create the chances that we are creating and play the caliber of football that we are creating. But one thing that struck me about last night, and I'm not for a minute suggesting that we don't miss Odegaard or that he's not important, but I think when you lose someone of that gravity, Arteta said it himself, you have to find other solutions. We have found other solutions in terms of personnel, but I think the attacking balance of the team in terms of how much we're now using the left and how effective the left is using, as opposed to a team turning up and knowing that they probably just have to shut down Odegaard, Saka and White, and they've got a good chance of stopping us scoring. I think that is something that's really come to the fore over the last 2 or 3 games.
Do you know, that's a great point, Sharon. I've got to say this because people were, not having a go at Saka yesterday. I didn't think that he was as good as, not been as good as what he has been. And it's funny that the right-hand side has been decimated this season with Ben White not there, Odegaard, and there is a slight drop-off on Saka. Funny that, like, you know what I mean? But when it was on the left-hand side, everybody was going, oh, Martinelli's got to do this, got to do that. All of a sudden, the left-hand side's been a little bit more secure, and we've been a little bit more dangerous on the left-hand side. And listen, going back to this defensive thing, we've had this for many years. And I was sitting there yesterday thinking, why is it that people are having a go at Arsenal a little bit about it? And do you know what it is? It's jealousy, total jealousy. Because if you look at other teams, let's take Tottenham, for instance. Tottenham, we've got great defenders. You know, Van der Ven's the best defender in the world, the best left back we've got, and we've got this and we've got that. But we can see goals. Why? Because of our style of play, because we're all gun-ho and attacking, like, you know. It ain't the case. The case is with Arsenal is that we're very, very good at defending. And teams, what they don't like it, that we're very, very good at defending without having flaws. There's no flaw. You know, we're still a very, very good attacking team with a fantastic defence. And if you look back over the years, George Graham got pillared for it. You know, when we won the leagues in 89, 81, we won the league in 89 on the most goals scored. So we couldn't have been a boring side. And in 91, just go back and look at the football that we played in that era was sensational. So it's not that. It's just people just want to have a go and a dig. And we've gone years under Wenger when we played some of the best football I've ever seen. What was the criticism that every pundit used to give us? Defensively, not good enough. You know, like, you know, you can always get at Arsenal, like, you know. Now we've got this wonderful, wonderful defence, and they are wonderful. And Gabriel's not as good as so and so. Saliba's not the best at this, and so, whatever. I have to say, yesterday that's without Ben White, who's there. Probably, like, you know, a new left back that's come in, and they've just been brilliant. Timber, by the way, in that first half defensive performance. Oh my, you know what I mean? I'm looking at it. I'm a massive Ben White fan, and I'm thinking, like, if I was Ben White, yes, I've got my hand. What's going on here? Like, you know what I mean? He's probably thinking, thank God he's got injured. I've got to get back on that pitch now, because otherwise I've got to make my move. I've got, you know, but that's what you want. You know, Ben White's got to come back in there and hit a level. Which is, I just thought our defensive performance yesterday was absolutely.
It looks like Kivior stepped up a little bit as well. I thought that was a really good cameo, and I thought he was also one of our best players against Bolton. But he looked really good when he came on yesterday. There was a bit of one. Yeah, exactly. And I know that's what you like.
What was that, Turkish? Sorry.
He kept trying to find someone in the stands in the first 5 minutes. He kept on just kicking it out into Rose Z. I was thinking, who's there? Your mum or something? Trying to find.
Do you know what though? Do you know what though, Turkish? I have to say, their two wide players skinned Calafiori on 3 or 4 times with pace and whatever. And now he's been sitting there watching that. And by the way, Calafiori handled it superbly well. So I think he's thinking himself, he's out of his comfort zone a little bit with these guys. I just thought in the end, it took me 10 minutes to think, like, where's Timber? You know what I mean? It was just like, it was so comfortable. Like, I think he's played really well, considering he's only had not that much match time. I thought he done really, really well as well yesterday.
Yeah.
We talk about Trossard because so I did a video on the Gooniverse, which I was basically saying, like, look, for someone who puts up the numbers he puts up and has the amount of clutch moments he has, he should technically be one of the first names on the team sheet. Like, think about it. The big games, the big moments, like how much of a match winner he is. And yet he's not. Like, you know, a lot of people even debate whether he gets into our best team. Whole premise of the video was basically asking the question, like, why is that the case? Why can you have someone that wins you games at Old Trafford, scores you last-minute goals? Is probably our best moments player. If you're talking about someone who can do something out of nothing, that's Leandro Trossard. He can play false nine, midfield, out wide as well. So there's plenty of areas that he can occupy in the teams. Why is he not a starter? And I basically was talking about him, everything he does. I think his tech and his quality, I think it leaves us wanting a little bit more in terms of his overall game. Just a general, like all-round slightly better contribution on the ball. And I watched him against PSG yesterday, and that was what I was talking about. The amount of times he was the one, the balls fizzed into him in the 10 spot, touch, turning away from defenders, spinning and 1-2s with players, running at players as well, creating the assist for Kai Havertz, finding that moment with a brilliant ball into the box. I felt we saw Trossard, and I'm not trying to use that maybe it sounds like I'm doing this, but I'm not trying to use that performance as a bit of I told you so there's more to come from Trossard. I think he is someone that more often than not is trying to sniff out where the ball's going to be in the box and try have that, try to be the finisher to moves as well. But I've just felt that in this game he turned creator with Kai Havertz quite clearly leading the line, and I really enjoyed that balance. And I thought Trossard just showed his quality as an overall 10. Just he was playing as a number 10, and I really enjoyed it. I thought he did really, really well.
It's also no surprise, though, right? I mean, when we're looking at Leandro Trossard's minutes since he's joined, he has had to move around quite a lot. He's been starting on the left or coming off the bench on the left when he's not a natural winger by any means. He's occupied the false 9 position sometimes. He played the left 8 once or twice last season. This is the first run of games where I think the manager's been able to look at him and say, well, our captain's gone. This is going to be predominantly your role for the next month or two. You have a good run in the Premier League and in the Champions League. Here you go. I mean, we talk about how the left and right-hand sides were decimated and it impacts Martinelli and Saka to some extent. So I don't see why we shouldn't apply the same principles to Trossard. It doesn't surprise me at all that he's now just a bit more comfortable and can display his quality in that position. And that ball last night, I mean, the awareness to sort of look up constantly and make sure that you time that ball perfectly. A defender is on Havertz, but the ball is hit with such precision that even though the defender has full sight of it, can do absolutely nothing about it. Wonderful, wonderful goal.
Because you know what, it's for me the change with Arsenal has changed the way I view some of the players as well. Not to say I was ever a critic of Trossard, but let's just use everyone in the attack. For example, Havertz, Saka, Martinelli. 12 months ago, I'm looking for 90-minute performances. I'm looking for a threat over, 80% of the game from our wingers, from our attackers, receive the ball, go at defenders, cause problems. That's what I was looking for. But now 12 months on, we're very much a defensive first side where it's about structure, it's about stability, and it's about picking your moments. So if that's the side we are, picking our moments in attack, because that's what I think we are, and I think the numbers suggest that, aside from a Leicester game where, we should have won that 8-0, if it's a side that picks their moments in attack, then I can't look around at the attack and say I want an 80, 90-minute performance from any of you. So it's about the moment. That's why Havertz has grown for me in the last 12 months. That's why I look at Saka, who I go back to Lee. Saka wasn't good for 90 minutes. Yes, I mean, Saka wasn't good for the entirety of the time he was on the pitch. But that's not against him. It's because the side is built to be structurally solid first and pick their moment second. And he had one moment with the free kick and he picked it. Listen, it was fortunate. It went in the back of the net. But that's what Saka's brought into his game the last 12 months. Martinelli hasn't. And that's the hope that he does bring that. But Trossard, 12 months ago, I would have, even 2 months ago, I'm saying he's a 12th man, the best 12th man in the league, because clutch moments from him, those clutch moments. When he starts games, I kind of unfairly looked and thought, well, he's not really doing anything for 70 minutes of the game. But then again, that's the same for the whole attack. It's the picking of the moments in attack. And if he is the clutch player for us, and we get moments in these games, then he does warrant a shout to start games. But at the same time, it's no disrespect to say 12th man rotation option. Now we've got legends that were 12th man rotation options, and they go way back. So yeah, Trossard stepped up. I'm happy.
Yeah. That's his best game for Arsenal. Best game for Arsenal. Yes, I thought he was unbelievable.
Yeah, he's tremendous.
And I will say this: I've been sort of pushing on for Nwaneri to start, maybe against Southampton. When he come off about 10 minutes to go from the end or whatever, I said, well, he's starting on Saturday, and Nwaneri maybe not now, and that was his performance yesterday. I think maybe even himself was probably thinking what have I got to do to make sure that I play on Saturday or guaranteed starter at this moment? So keep doing what you're doing, because that was an unbelievable performance. Not just his overall general play. I thought his work rate was really, really good. And I don't care what anybody says. No one sat in that game yesterday and said missing Trossard. Missing Odegaard. I don't think no one said that yesterday. I certainly didn't. And that is the biggest compliment you can give him at this moment in time, is that we all know how very, very good and important Odegaard is, but we are missing him, but we didn't miss him in that game, and because Trossard has stepped up. And this is the thing, when you get players injured, you've got to have players that step up. I think Calafiori steps up at the moment. We're not missing who's been playing at left back, Tomiyasu or Shinchenko, or whoever. You're not mentioning it no more, are you? You know, Ben White has been sensational for us for 2 years. 2 years been unbelievable. Have we missed him the last couple of games? No. And this is the thing. I don't think we had that last season, guys, when players were dropping out, the players that were stepping in weren't doing the business. But these guys now are stepping in, and not only stepping in, you're saying, like, if Odegaard's fit at this moment, you know, it's hard to say, right, yeah, he comes straight back in and drop Trossard. You can't at this moment. Fantastic performance yesterday. The actual run and then to deliver that pass, you know, that's fantastic. Fantastic.
But this is Leeds. Sorry, this is why, and I hate to bring it back to a time where maybe we were all a little bit more worried about the team, but this is why I wasn't agreeing yet, because I think we had a lot to learn, that we had a worse squad than last season. Like, I think the numbers were worse. I think we have less players to call upon, but I feel so much better about the players we can use this season. I really do. Like, Marino came on for Partey, and I'd never seen the guy kick a ball for us. I just felt like we'll be the same. We'll be fine. You know, whereas in previous years, it's been Lokonga or El Neni who's come on and all played that particular role in the squad or whatever. You know, no Ben White, but Timbers. But we haven't missed Ben White the last few days. We should, you know, last season we've been desperate for him to come back. Okay, we had Timber last season because he was injured, so we didn't. But, you know, even Kivior at left back, Calafiori, whoever it might be, you know, Waneri, even Lewis Skelly coming on. I thought, I've seen enough from this guy in just the Bolton game to know that I'm much more excited to see him coming on than sort of other players we've had in the past. And, you know, Raheem Sterling and Waneri didn't even get on the pitch. I think there's a group there that Arteta trusts more, in my opinion. I think there's a group of players there that I think he feels a lot more comfortable to use than in previous years, even if he's had more numbers.
Yeah, but I don't think that answer comes until May, because we have to win the league.
True. Yeah, true.
We can't say we're happy with the squad and then accept not winning the league now.
Yeah, I am happy with it. I am happy with
the bench yesterday, boys. I don't know if you felt that. I felt that, you know, a couple more players coming back. Still got players missing, by the way, but it did look a little bit more potent.
Well, unless Sterling steps it up, when we start seeing him more and more, Jesus still needs to step it up as well, because them two. By name they look good on the bench, but right now by performance they're not providing much.
I'm not going to criticise Jesus, because, you know, but I watched him yesterday and he just lost that little bit of pace. There was one time that the ball went over the top. Before the knee injury, he would have been on the end of it. Maybe not on the end of it, but it would have been close to whatever. He was a yard off of it yesterday. I feel for him. I just think he's just lost that little zip through that injury. It's just tragic, you know what I mean?
He's not at it at the moment. I mean, I spoke on him quite considerably after the Bolton game, so I won't really want to say much now, because what did he have? 10 seconds against Leicester, and actually his action led to a goal that I actually think he chose the wrong thing, but let me not, because, you know, it did lead to a goal. And yeah, I wasn't particularly impressed with this PSG cameo. But I won't say too much. But yeah, he's just not at his best at the moment. But others are. So he'll just have to work extra hard for his place in the team. It's not hurting us at the moment. We should want more as the season goes on. I think that will come. I do have a question. Do you guys think Arteta is purposely rotating Waneri and Lewis Skelly's opportunities? You know, I mean, is it just a coincidence that Waneri came on against Spurs, where Lewis Skelly came on against City? You could say it's circumstantial because of the game state. You know, with needing a goal, he brings on Waneri against Leicester, but he brings on Lewis Skelly. I mean, you could argue that the game state dictates you're going to use a defender and attacker in different ways, but I just like the way they've both kind of had their cameos and moments slightly in different situations.
Yeah, game state you could say, but then when Ranieri came on 1-0 up at White Hart Lane, right?
Yeah. You're right.
And that game, that's a risky game state to bring a 17-year-old on. But yeah, it's a mix of it. I think those two are the shining lights from pre-season. So
Yeah.
they both deserved it. I mean, I shouted for Lewis Skelly to start the game, and a lot of people were shocked
This
by that.
game.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Just because I think defensively we're quite on the edge now. One injury defensively, all of a sudden, we're talking a very different, So I just thought, maybe Lewis Skelly can step into this one. Outrageous claim, yes, but he comes off the bench, and I think that shows the trust Arteta has in him. Sure, you was going to say something.
Yeah, I mean, it was just on rotation and the use of the squad, and whether we're going to be happy with the squad at the end of the season. And you brought up preemptively Gabriel Jesus. That's the one area of the pitch where maybe with Southampton on the weekend, as an example, leading up to the international break, with Jesus not having had many minutes and Havertz having played quite a few, on paper, you look at Gabriel Jesus as a rotational option and you think, well, maybe Southampton's a brilliant game to give him some minutes and for him to play himself back into form. But given the cameos that he's had so far, I don't think anyone's going to call for him to play that game, which is disappointing because that is the one area where down the middle, aside from Kai Havertz, there isn't very much that we're now feeling that sense of confidence in. And it's gone from when Havertz comes in to the side, a lot of people sort of questioning his role, to now it's sort of protect Kai Havertz at all costs because of how integral he is and the lack of solutions that we have in that position. Having said that, I could have said the same about a lack of solutions with Ødegaard, but Arteta is infinitely smarter than me and has come up with a way to make it work, right? So this might be me being overly sort of worried, but Gabriel Jesus is one of those players that I think if we are going to win trophies, not necessarily win the league, but win trophies this season, he's going to have to step up because Kai Havertz can't play week in, week out. And what you see from a lot of top players in those years of their career, either post-injury or when they get older, when they lose a bit of pace, they find a way to become playmakers. They find a bit of vision. They find a way to sort of pick the right pass. Gabriel Jesus hasn't been doing that. I think, Lee, the moment you were alluding to where he sort of typically would have blitzed past the player, he couldn't. He held back, but he gave the ball away straight away. And it was a relatively simple pass. And he's done that a few times with these cameos that he's had, right? So that's the one area of the squad right now where I'm still not entirely convinced that we've got the firepower and we'll feel as though we have that firepower come May. But I was debating whether or not to even say it because it was such a wonderful night last night. Why focus on what ultimately didn't end up mattering?
No, do you know, it's a great point you make there, and James as well, because come Saturday, do you make a few changes? I looked at it yesterday and I was watching it a bit. Sterling was working hard, doing some stuff. I think maybe he was going to come on and didn't. There must be an element of frustration in those players, like they're not getting the jump. But you can, we're playing well, so it's difficult. But there is going to be that call, like the last two games, same team started. You're going into the third game there against Southampton. And dare I say this, if you're not going to rotate in this game, are you ever going to rotate? But as you said there, Shaw, if I don't see Havertz on that pitch starting up that front, I'm going to panic in that game. I don't know how you guys feel because he just makes everything tick for us. And I don't want, but you're right what you're saying, Shaw. After this game, he's going to go off and play 2 games for Germany. He's going to come back. When is
what are
he
you shaking your head for, Turkish? What?
All of a sudden, Havertz has turned into Zidane, and we can't do nothing about him. Southampton at home, we're going to worry.
Oh, no. Whoa. Let's get on. I'm going on Sharoy's point here, Turkish. But how are you going to panic
against Southampton with no Havertz? What's going on?
No, because of the replacement. I mean, exactly what I'm alluding to. What Sharoy's saying, like we shouldn't be, should we? Should be going like another centre forward comes in, you ain't got a problem. But I haven't got a problem if Sterling plays in place of Martinelli on Saturday. I ain't got a problem if you play Ranieri in place of Trossard or bring in Marino instead of Partey, or even for Rice, you want to leave Rice because Rice looked very, very tired towards the end, because these guys are playing, and that, that Rice is not going to get rested for England. You know that, like, he's going to play those 2 games, 90 minutes. So, but I'm not bothered if he's left out on Saturday, Rice. I am with Havertz, and because of the Jesus, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that it's I know.
Lee, I agree with you. I agree with you. I don't think panic. I wouldn't say panic. But Yeah, if Kai Havertz isn't starting and it's Jesus starting this game, listen, I'm not sitting there going, well, that's it, drop points, because I think Jesus has an ability to turn it on. And when Jesus is at his best, he does things Kai Havertz can't do. Like, let's be real about it. There's also things that Jesus brings that Kai Havertz will never have in his locker, because very different types of players. And in a lot of ways, I love watching what a Jesus at his best can do. And we've seen glimpses of it since his knee injury. So that's not completely gone. But Kai Havertz has now got 6 goals in 6 games at the Emirates. He's been big in big games that we've needed him to be. He allows us to go long. He allows us to play on the floor. He allows us to, be a bit more direct at times in our football. He gives us a focal point up front. And quite crucially, he's been putting the ball in the back of the net, which is what, I've been praising Trossard for doing really well. And in a different way, Havertz has been kind of really reliable in that sense, especially at home. You start to think, the team has got used to playing with him as a focal point. And the way Jesus has played recently, again, I'm saying that I'm trying to be too harsh, but I'd be more worried about that drop-off than if, another player to miss out, because I feel like the players coming in feel a little bit more warm going into those other positions than Jesus does if he had to step in for Havertz. So that says more probably about just needing Jesus to get to those levels and have some cameos and performances that sort of restore that confidence.
Havertz has had a very good start to the season, don't get me wrong, but I think we're going a bit too far. If Jesus starts one game and scores a brace, that's all he has to do to put pressure back on Havertz.
I agree.
Start to the season, but it's not like he's outrageously gone ahead of him. And now Jesus can't. If Jesus starts against Southampton and scores 2 goals, we're having a conversation moving forward about, can we play Jesus here again? I think we're quite early in this whole. We can't, without Havertz, we're going to be a completely different side. I just don't see that.
No, but have Jesus's cameos made you feel?
Are you going to concede he's going to be a good player when he wins the Ballon d'Or? Are you going to be a little bit? Are you going to concede that he's a good player?
Yeah, but you're dreaming.
What has this man got to do for you? Like, what has he got to do? Like,
you're dreaming. You're dreaming. If we're mentioning Ballon d'Or and we're panicking against Southampton without Havertz, and you're coming to me. I think you have to look at yourself and ask, is everything okay?
Jesus hasn't been.
It's like Sterling. Sterling's come on and done fuck all apart from Bolton. If he starts against Southampton and scores 2 goals, pressure's on Martinelli.
That's what you want, though. Is that what?
No, but it is what we want. But let's not say Havertz has done. Havertz is gone now, and we cannot live without him. That's what will make it. No.
It's not that we can't live without him as a team. And because Lee very kindly said that he was responding to my point when Turkish nearly turned off his camera, I'm going to have to be the one to defend it. So thanks for that.
He said he panicked, though. That's different.
I know. But what I was saying there is, if Gabriel Jesus is starting, I'm then slightly less confident that our goal is going to come from our centre forward, and I'm not panicking against Southampton, because we've got enough elsewhere on the pitch to still absolutely dismantle that team. But I'm then looking at other areas of the pitch for the goal. Whereas if Havertz was on, I'd find it more likely than not that he was going to score in that game. That's what I meant by that. And that's only because of what I've seen from Gabriel Jesus in his most recent appearances. He doesn't just look slightly off it. He looks as though he's going to need a fair bit of time to get back to it. And that's my point. That's not me saying that Kai Havertz is a Ballon d'Or winner. That's not me saying that Gabriel Jesus is done. But what was going on here?
I'm glad you clarified that, so that can stay in the bottom right corner, that Ballon d'Or claim.
Fine. I'll leave it there.
The first 4 months of Jesus, you could argue, is the best 9 we've seen at Arsenal since a peak Aubameyang.
I agree.
And even they're very different, because Aubameyang was a pure goal scorer. Then if you're talking pure footballer up top, you might be going back to Van Persie days. That first 4 months of Jesus before the knee injury was unbelievable. And you get that version, and Kai Havertz has a problem. He does. But we haven't seen that. And we haven't seen anywhere near that. And, it's funny, Tosh, because you mentioned Sterling, and I was trying not to bite. But in my opinion, Sterling, at least against Bolton, showed something that made me go, that's going to add to the team. The running in behind. It's a small thing, but no one in our team does that. And I felt he looked a lot better in terms of taking players on, making things happen. That pace was there. against Leicester. Didn't do a lot, but at least he looked like he was keeping defenders on their toes. I'm talking, God, I feel so mean. Gabby Jesus, I love you. I want you to know this. I love you, and I want it to work for you so badly. You're a top player, but I'm just being real. I've seen like close to nothing, 0. And I'm just like, and that's where I think,
yeah, man, the guy signed for us, put the number 9 on his back. He's not
All right.
scoring goals. Like, don't be shy. Why we
fine, because I feel mean because we just won and we're playing really well, and I really like him, and it's not his fault he had a bad knee injury, but we've seen close to nothing. So I think Lee makes a really good point that if we're losing Kai Havertz, that does feel like a bigger drop than it should feel like when Jesus is coming in. But he'll get there, because look what we did against Bayern Munich, and he's got he'll contribute this season. I know he'll contribute this season. I still think there's a very good player there, but I actually think Lee's got a good point. I would be a bit apprehensive if we're missing Kai Havertz. That's the point where I don't think we'll win the game, but I'll be like, oh, that's annoying, because he's been reliable. We can rely on him at the moment.
If we're missing Saka, we're doomed. If we're missing Raya, we're doomed. If we're missing Saliba, we're doomed. There's certain players that
sure.
It's not in
Saka's our best player. Who's putting Havertz as our best player? I mean, Havertz would do well to crack the top 5, and that's not a criticism, because you've got Saliba, Odegaard, Rice, Saka, lots of other top players. But Saka's our best player, so I'd expect it to be somewhat difficult to replace him. But Havertz, Jesus, it wasn't that big of a discussion before, whereas now, before it didn't feel like a massive gap, is what I'm saying.
I think it's like if Ray was injured now, right? You know, the drop off. You know, I don't know what Neto's like, but I've been worried. If last season Raya got injured, you had Ramsdale, so it wasn't a fit. That's what I'm saying to you. I'm not saying that there's like Havertz is there. I even think, like, you know, the gap between like Havertz and Jesus is bigger than what it should be. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know,
this is also complementary to Kai Havertz.
Yeah,
this is also he's playing really. So
people are going to think I'm dissing. People are going to think I'm dissing Havertz. The comments are already. I haven't dissed Havertz once. Here, I haven't dissed Havertz once. All I'm saying is saying we're going to panic without him is so disingenuous, because that's far from true. And if you're going to,
I don't care what anybody says. Turkish, I'll be really. If we go in on Saturday, with all we should
Southampton at home.
At Southampton at home. I would, and Havertz is rested, and Jesus is in. I am going to be nervous. I know I am, and I think I'll go back to the Aston Villa game.
We're not in a good place then.
That's
we're
all
not
I'm saying.
in a good place as you'd like to make it seem. Then you're not as confident as you like to make it seem. Then, because if you think Havertz not being on the lineup against Southampton at the Emirates is going to make you nervous, Lee, we've got 33 games to go after that, mate. Like,
he makes us tick. Makes us tick. I'll tell you what. If we say, like, if I'm in a meeting with the manager and Mikel says to me, I'm thinking of resting Havertz because we've got
bigger games
coming up and whatever, he's like, you know, what do you reckon? I go, yeah, play Trossard there.
You'd say that.
Yeah, I would say play Trossard.
No, that's not my argument. Yeah, I don't care if it's Jesus or Trossard or whoever. I'm just saying it's not panic stations if Havertz is unavailable for a game against Southampton. So we got.
I'm not confident.
Arteta would be very naive to build a side where if you take out one guy that he brought in as a midfielder who's now a striker, it all kind of makes us nervous. No, we got to rate the guy higher than that. He's shown we've lost bigger players than Havertz, and he's Odegaard we lost. 3 weeks ago, we wouldn't have dared speak about this team without Odegaard. And look at what we've done since: Tottenham, Man City, Atalanta away, PSG at home.
Yeah,
Let's not do this with Havertz, because it's going to make me. People are going to think I'm hating on him. No,
no, you're not hating him.
Let's not put a case on him. The bat signal out there, like he's going to save Gotham. Like they're saying.
I'll chuck out a game, Turkish. Right? What's been our worst performance of the season?
Worst performance of the season.
Atalanta for me.
Atalanta.
Yeah.
Who was up front?
Probably Atalanta.
Yeah, and Havertz wasn't that guy up front. That's my problem. You know what I mean? Like, I think if he doesn't play up front, there's going to be a massive drop. That's not bigging him up as this. I think that worries me. You know what I mean? Like, and when he went up front in that game, we created the chance. We didn't create anything up until he went up top.
On a more positive note, we saw Marino.
Sorry, people are going to think that was negative. That was just a good debate. I
What are
like
you
that.
panicking
It was a good
for?
debate.
What
It
are
was
you
a good debate.
worried about? What are you worried about?
We can't always agree, people. No, I yeah, and people are going to take it as like we're being too harsh on Jesus, or we're overrating or underrating Havertz. It's just an observation.
Of course
Like
it is.
listen, we used to talk about much worse players
Yeah.
in this team. Like we're talking from a position of the highest standards now that we're holding Arsenal to. And it's just some observations. But yeah, Marino came on, which was a bit of a surprise. On the 60th minute, surprised he was in the squad. Surprised that he played half an hour. Just shows that Mikel Arteta just keeps his cards close to his chest, doesn't he, when it comes to these players and their availability.
No, he lies. He doesn't keep his cards close to his chest. He lies. Let's be clear.
He's a liar. It's fine. I thought off the ball, in particular, some nice tackles, some nice sort of moments where he won back possession. On the ball, just kept things ticking. I didn't see anything spectacular, but I mean, I also don't know if that was what was required from the game. It was just kind of like nice. It was just like,
Clean.
wow, clean. You can take a player off like Partey, who's having a great game, and bring on Marino and still feel good about your team.
Couple good tackles, few good passes, couple good turns in tight spaces, protecting the ball well. I mean, he didn't do nothing amazing, but he was clean, he was neat, and it was a good cameo.
It's exactly the sort of game.
By the way,
sorry.
What did you make of the substitution? Was it like resting Partey for Saturday, or was it this is the future midfield?
It kind of goes to what I was thinking. It's exactly the sort of game that you want to bring in Marino for. The state of the game was such that we weren't chasing a goal, but we weren't also weathering a massive storm and being peppered to the extent that he was going to be really tested physically. This was the sort of game where you could quite nicely integrate him. There's not much emphasis going forward, and you just want to see if he can keep the game ticking over, slot into the team, exemplify bits of Arteta's philosophy. But when we bought Marino, I always felt as though he was going to be the left 8 and Rice would probably move into the 6 slightly more permanently, right? And I do want to see eventually. I know that last night wasn't the moment for it and he is coming back from injury. But what we didn't get to see last night is how he impacts the attacking prowess on the left-hand side. To what extent he's able to get to the edge of the box and maybe just lace one into the top corner. And in a really, really fiery adverse environment, to what extent he can win those duels when the temperature of the game goes bang, 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 bang. That's what I think he was bought for. And that's what I want to see more of. But obviously last night was the perfect sort of introduction. And I can see the comments running away with it now. Do you know what I mean? Marino's debut last night. Now I'm on here today. Is what it is, man. Is what it is.
I will say, though, that the amount he's played Partey, I think 3 starts in a row with Atalanta, City, Tottenham, and the fact that he's getting better and better and rediscovering his best form. City and PSG were his best performances, and they were the 2 biggest games, or sort of oppositions, let's say. I mean, I don't know. Don't rule out Partey still playing a lot of football when Marino's fit. Don't rule out with the amount Rice is playing for England as well. Listen, can we get to a point where you can start a game with Ødegaard, Partey, Marino? Yeah, can you? You know, and Rice, you can sit this one out. I mean, that would be extremely impressive levels of midfield depth if we can do that. Not in terms of like, I still agree about the numbers to a degree, but just being comfortable being able to do that. Like that would, I don't know. I can see a world in which he starts that midfield.
And I think we're gonna have to, right? I mean, this is the thing, and I'm guilty of this too. Whenever a new player comes in, and whenever we have this vision of what our first 11 should look like, there's always this idea that, well, what's the combination going to be? But we're also exactly the same people that say we have to compete on all fronts this season. But we're also the same people that say there are far too many games for these footballers to play without picking up knocks, and it's absurd. And we're also the same people that say different games dictate different things. Arteta says it himself. He said it in the post-match last night when Sturridge asked him the question again about the sort of dark arts. He said, look, there are certain games, I don't want to play that game, but sometimes the opposition will take you there. So I need to make sure that I have the players, I have the combinations, I have the arsenal to deal with it. And that's exactly why, even though I myself just said that I think it will be Marino and Rice, I'm talking about the ideal combination when you're playing Manchester City, or if you're in a Champions League semi-final. Because no matter what we say about rotation, combinations, what could work, what looks good, everyone will know what their ideal first 11 is in those big crunch knockout games. And I think eventually when that time comes, it'll probably be those two, but I might be wrong.
So, but keeping in mind the time, I want to ask definitively about Southampton, because we're going to get onto predictions shortly. But what changes would we make then? I mean, God forbid we leave Havertz out of this one, so I'm not going to ask about him. But what changes can we make, Lee?
Well, this is the question. I would make changes in this game. I would make a couple of changes in this game. I think I would leave. I'd give Martinelli a break for this game. Give Sterling a run out. I would also maybe even leave Rice out of this game for that exact reason, is that you know that he's not going to get rested for. And I know this is a joke when you think about it. We've got to rest him in games because you know he's not going to go on international football and get the rest that he should be getting. So one or two I would make, but I'm nervous about making those. And I watched Southampton the other day. If we don't do a job on them, that would be disappointing. But you know that Ramsdale's going to have a good game. But I would just freshen it up a little bit. I would, but then you have to give Mikel his credit. I think that maybe that's why off comes Trossard, off comes Partey, because he thinks, right, okay, get them ready for Saturday. But we've played 3 difficult games back to like away games, and we didn't really change it, and everybody come through it very, very well. So I don't know when to rotate and when not to. I'll be honest, but I would make a couple in this game. But if you make a couple and it don't go right, people are going to go wide.
I don't think you will rotate much, to be honest. I mean, let's go from the top down. I think Martinelli, Saka, and Havertz will all keep their place. I know there's a temptation to start Sterling, but they want to play. I mean, I think we always think of it as like being kind to players and we're sort of rotating them in and out, but they all want to be on that pitch. So I think he'll keep that the same. And he'll go with Partey, Rice, Trossard again. The only thing is the back four, right? Timber, if he did feel a slight muscular problem, which is what Arteta said, and that ultimately is probably nothing, but they didn't want to risk it. Well, we haven't seen him, but he's been back in training. I wonder if there's a start for Tomiyasu or if White recovers and you just change up the right back position and basically just say, if Tomiyasu's fit and White's sort of available to play, then I think you basically do it to get him out of international duty. You say, listen, Jiren, like you are still recovering from this knee problem. You played a lot of football. You played the last international break. Let's keep you away from this one and rest up that slight muscular problem, whatever it is. So that might be the only change I see. I think Calafiori starts but comes off for Kivior at some point. That's pretty much it. I think maybe one change at right back, and then Marino, Waneri, Sterling can all come on.
I think it's only the Timber one. Listening to everything that Arteta says in press conferences when he talk about how many games we're playing, he's actually quite ruthless, man. He comes out and says, well, look, it's only September. It's pretty early in the season. Now, I know we're in October, but I think the manager's going to be sat there saying, well, guys, you played at home on a Tuesday and we're playing at home again on a weekend. You've got enough time. It's not as though we're sitting there top of the league, 5 points clear. I'm not suggesting that it's a must-win game, but it's very important to keep up the pace. And this is a game that we certainly ought to be winning. He's just going to say, go get the job done in the first 60 and then I can rest you lot. And then maybe I can pull you off and lie about an injury so that you don't have to go to international duty. That's something that honestly I think we should be doing. Looking at someone like Declan Rice, taking him off on the 60th minute and saying to the England camp, actually, he's got a slight niggle. He's not going to be able to travel. I mean, the worry is, as you say, James, these players want to play, so they might not be too...
Man, Rice was playing for Ireland like 3 years ago.
Happy about that, but it's crunch time for us, man. I see Fard.
You play well. Okay, man.
He looked tired yesterday when he came off. I don't know if you noticed it. He looked like he was limping a little bit when he came off. Not for injury, just sheer exhaustion. I do think that he needs to have a little break here and there, but I think he's such a vital player.
when you look at back-to-back games against newly promoted sides, I can't see how we don't rotate a little. I don't care what month it is, because if some of these fringe players are going to play as important a role as they are throughout this season, like Lewis Skelly's come on against Man City, right? Nwaneri's come on against Tottenham, right, away from home. So surely these home games, I'm expecting, not just young players, Jorginho as well. We signed him for an extra year. He filled in a hell of a lot last season at a great level. So let's not forget he's going to need some. Do we want Partey to play another 60, 70 before going with Ghana for another 180 with them for 2 weeks? That have we, in obviously we're talking from where we are now, but we've seen damage and injuries from international breaks before, and we can't afford it right now. So I'd entertain Lewis Skelly coming in at right back. I'd entertain maybe not all of these at once, obviously, because that's too much change. Maybe Nwaneri comes in the 10. Maybe Jorginho comes in for Partey. I think it's the perfect game. Maybe Jesus comes in for Havertz.
I hate him.
Maybe. It's a chance. It's Southampton at home. If you're not going to give these men the chance.
Yeah, that is the Turkish. You're dead right. I know, like we're saying, but if you are going to rotate and you feel you can't do it against Southampton, when are you going to do it?
You shouldn't feel like you can't. You shouldn't feel like you can't rotate. I get that, right?
Yeah, I feel that we should rotate on Saturday, and feel I should walk in that stadium thinking that we're still going to win and still win comfortably.
So,
all right,
guys,
jumping in quickly. Sorry, I'm here. Yeah. I'm here in Jordan's place, so I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm going to try and assume the Jordan role. Yeah, we had Leicester at home. We were 2-0 up. Everyone is bricking it in the last 4 or 5 minutes because we didn't get the job done when we ought to have. Right now, you're looking at Southampton's recent result. Obviously, they got absolutely blitzed in the first half, but their manager comes out and says something along the lines of that was unforgivable or the side was unrecognizable. So they're going to turn up and you would like to think put in a slightly better defensive performance than they did otherwise, right? So I know it's a newly promoted side, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility that this could be a game where you do struggle to break a team down a little bit. And you do want someone there to pick the lock, and you do want one of your higher strength teams. In principle, Turkish, I'm 100% with you. If you can't rotate at home against Southampton, when the hell can you rotate? But I'm just saying that the Premier League isn't always that straightforward.
Yeah.
Arteta is difficult to read because at times it feels like he doesn't rotate enough. I'm just looking at the 11 now when we beat Sheffield United 5-0. This is the 28th of October. And he brought in Kivior at centre-back in that game. He started Eddie up front in that game. He brought Smith Rowe into midfield for that game. And I remember at the time, it felt like quite a lot of changes to what had actually been working quite well. Gabriel and Erdegaard were on the bench. So I think there's a chance. I just think because it's that last game for the international break, he might just go, look, I've only got, I've got you guys for one more game. Was it Lee who made the point about the home games? It's a fourth home game in a row. It's very ideal. Yeah. So I think he'll just go for his best team to try get the 3 points. But you're right. I'm just predicting the 11. My 11 is Sterling in for Martinelli, Nwaneri in for Trossard, just because I want to see it. Not because I actually think that's the right thing. Well, either Nwaneri for Trossard or Marino for one of Rice or Partey, just to mix it up. I'd make one change to the midfield, and then I'd see what the White Tomiyasu situation is, and you could change one of the fullbacks. How you could give Kivior a start. 3 or 4 changes we should be able to do and feel confident of going and getting the win. But I just don't think Arteta will do that.
How good would that feel? 3-4 changes, a couple of youngsters start, we win the game comfortably. International break 2 weeks, we feel a lot better in that case too. Let me reluctantly bring up the prediction table because people are flying whilst I still haven't taken off yet. For God's sake. I've never been so behind in this table.
Yeah.
It's crazy. James and Jordan have picked up another correct score each, another 3 points each. That leaves James top on 13, Jordan just behind on 12, Lee's got 10, and I'm on 5.
It's a real benefit predicting the score first when you're top, right? I mean, that's something we've maybe got wrong over the years because Lee was losing it when I picked 2-0, but you're forced to do something different. I mean, anyway.
Yeah, maybe next year you do it the other way and then the bottom starts, whatever, maybe. Before we do our predictions, I've got Jordan's on hand as well. People, reminder, AFTV Plus app, the Fourever Predictor is within that app. What is the Fourever Predictor? You predict along with us. The Southampton game is already there to make your prediction. So as you're watching this now, bring out your phone, people. Go download the AFTV Plus app. If it's downloaded, open it up. Fourever Predictor, Arsenal versus Southampton. Put your prediction in. Make sure it's accepted. Make sure it's finalized. You can make changes leading up to the game. But the earlier you do it, the better. So you don't forget. I still see some people languishing with 0 points. So make sure you get that in, people. AFTV Plus is the app. Fourever Predictor is within that app. And there's also other great things on the app too to get your teeth into. James, Southampton at home. Kick us off, my bro.
I'm going to go 3-1 on this one. Yeah, I want to go 3-1 because I can see us again conceding a silly goal. Yeah, that's all I've got to say. Shout out to all the people who are joining me on 4 points in the leaderboard as well. UL, Hamdi, Anonymous, Cantwelly, 4 points as well in the leaderboard. We're doing good.
This guy's top. He's bringing out fucking lists and shit. All right, cool. Lee, check this guy out. Jordan's gone 3-0. Sharai, as Jordan's replacement today, you might as well give your prediction now as well.
You know what? I'm not just saying it because it's the same prediction as the guy that I replaced. I was going to go 3-0 too.
Yeah.
3-0 as well. Lee?
I'm going to take Sharoy's advice. He told me on that. Don't worry about other scores at this moment in time. If you think that, and I've done that, I made the fatal mistake on the last one because I did say 2-0 and I changed it to 1. So I was going to go 3-0, and I was delighted when James just said 3-1. But Jordan's gone 3-0, so I'm sticking with it 3-0.
Lee's gone 3-0. So we've got 3-0 from Jordan, Sharai, and Lee. We've got 3-1 from James.
You need to get this one right. Otherwise, you're going to need some dark arts from your lawyer to get you back into this competition, my friend.
Nah, man, when you got 2 stars there, you know you're in the
You're in the mix.
You're in the back.
You're allowed a transition year.
Yeah,
Fine.
man.
It's a shame though that whoever finished bottom is jumping out of a plane for this one.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Good luck. Good luck. The plane will go down with me, mate. Yeah. I ain't jumping out of no plane. We go down together. We go up together.
You never go to play because you lose his hat. You never do it.
I'll fly down with my hat backwards. 4. I'm tempted to go 4 or 5. I tell you what, because I'm last. Let me take 4 and 5-0. What do you lot think?
Nah.
That's not how this works. That's not how this works.
it's dark arts, isn't it? The fuck.
Spent all of 2 episodes ago trying not to submit a score and end the show. We were like, put in a score.
You ain't seen bottom of the league Turkish before. I'm telling you, the dark arts are going to be in full effect this season. I'm going 4-0. 4-0. Yeah, that's my prediction. 4-0. Sharai, Jordan, and Lee's gone 3-0. James has gone 3-1. And yeah, put your predictions in the Fourever Predictor on the AFTV Plus app, people. That's the predictions out of the way. And obviously, as always, we end with comments of the day. Listen, Jordan dropped out last minute, so Sharai dropped in last minute. He won't have comment of the day ready. That's fine. We can dock a point off Jordan for that.
No, hold on. Who says that? Who says I don't have a comment of the day ready?
No, it's fine because we're going to dock a point of Jordan. So just say you don't have it ready. And then...
No, I take my job very seriously, and I'm not doing my boy Jordan like that. I'm reading out my comment today.
No, what do you pay you for? How many boys you got?
Oh, listen, man. James has already put me on his channel. You know that we're in discussions too, Turkish. The only one I'm waiting for is Lee, man. That's it. And then I'm all of your lawyers.
Lee's a very tight individual, man. I don't think you're gonna get it.
Yeah. Don't worry, you'll get the call from Dan Potts soon. He runs the channel. Yeah.
Go on then.
He's
Go
the
on.
only one who does anything for it, so you'll be fine.
Kick us off with comments of the day.
Who, Sharai?
Yeah, sure, right. Yeah.
Go on.
Well, look, I mean, it couldn't have been set up more sweetly for my arrival, right? With Jordan sort of calling himself Xhaka at the end of last week's episode. So there are a couple here, right? One slightly less nice than the one that I think is the comment of the day. One that says, this is Ems_187. Well, it's Jordan Xhaka, then Marino Sharoy. Your time is up, mate, which I thought was quite funny. But Raj Kula
is good.
Raj Kula 8085 said one that actually did resonate with me. Jordan is indeed the Xhaka of the show. People are always whinging about him and saying he should be replaced. But let's be clear, if he were to leave, we would miss him massively. And I couldn't agree more. He's one of the loveliest guys. I've spoken to him a few times in person and we've stayed in touch every so often. Top bloke. And I'm not just saying that.
Can I just say that I don't miss Xhaka? So
fair enough.
Not all of us. Not all of us would miss Jordan. Can't. Who's next?
Turkish, why don't you go? Because one I've got, I saw you replied to, so I think it might be yours. I've got.
No, I'm not gonna put one of the ones I replied to. I'm not.
Okay, all right, I'll do it then. Fine. So Mike James, he said, "Me finally getting comment of the day from Lee, only for Turkish and James to say it was the worst comment, has crushed me inside. Cheers, lads. Weekend ruined. Anyone know how to unsubscribe from Turkish LDN and the Gooniverse? What makes it better?
That was my comment of the day as well.
What makes it better is Turkish replying, to be honest, I switch off when Lee speaks. I didn't even hear the comment. Just assumed it wasn't the best."
And that's the truth. I had to go back to the video and go back to it. And to be honest, the comment was shit. But yeah. Sorry, Mike.
Shout out. That was the comment of the week.
It was the comment of the day. It was the one that I've got as well, like, you know. So
can you prove it, Lee? Can you prove it, Lee? Can you hold your phone up?
Yes. Yeah. Bloody hell, look at that, like.
I can't see anything. Can anyone see anything there? Oh, there we go. All right, you got it. All right.
Allow it.
Just checking.
There's also, well, in the absence of yours, then Lee, there was also this really nice one for Jordan, who gets ripped all the time, and he takes it so well. But Abdelusi says, "Jordan, your podcast is quality, bro. You deserve lots of subscribers, man. I like your sports, business, and political angle. Had quite a lot of likes, and yeah, just show some love for Jordan." And then, sorry, this last one as well. Mayor Adam West. 6 goals back and forth. Jordan went through a range of emotions for 3 minutes this week. Yeah,
I mentioned this already on the last live show we did, but my comments from Real JM, and he said the intro needs an update. Turkish is always on time now. Lee's never sleeping anymore. Jordan's allegedly going to matches, and James still a nerd, but we need a new intro. I like that.
Yeah, well, perhaps we should get another one then. Like, any ideas of what we can do? We're trying to do it.
Next one, you have, instead of me being late, I'm actually waiting for you three. That's the next intro we do, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that. You know,
let's call it.
Roy's not backing you up on that one. That just tells you it all. Like.
Hold on. Since we implemented these rules, hasn't pretty much everyone been on time?
Yeah, Lee, give or take. Yeah, we have had to let Lee off a couple of times.
The performance across the board has improved, hasn't it? So you're welcome. You're welcome.
He did turn up one time. He didn't turn up one time. It's unbelievable.
Lee's already saying he's going to be late for a November show. Like, this is what I got to deal with, people. I put the schedule yesterday. Is that November show? I'm going to be late, mate. So what can we do with this? What can we do with this, man? But what we can do right now is cool.
Outrageous. I'm traveling home from Newcastle. That's outrageous. They're trying to dunk points off me for it. You know what I mean? Like, you know?
Start typing the link into your laptop when you're in the car on your way back.
And you're just leaving St. James Park.
That'll save you an hour when you get back.
Very difficult when you're driving, James, you know.
Lee, James, pleasure as always. Shirai, again, pleasure as always. Shirai's voice is the channel, people. He's also on the Gooniverse. Big up Shirai as always. Jordan's not going to like that he got a clap, but it is what it is. We move. Big up Jordan. Big up James. Big up Lee. Big up Shirai. Big up the Fourever community. Hit the like button. Make sure we're on 1,000 likes. I think that's nice and calm. 1,000 people are telling me to say 2,000, but we'll say 1,000. If you hit 2,000, then love for the love, people. All right, we'll be back after the Southampton game. I believe Sunday will be our next show, but make sure you subscribe, put the notification bell on, support the individual channels. Love for the love. We'll be back again real soon. Peace.